The Warring States period, from 475 to 221 BC, was more than an era of conflict. It was a brutal crucible forging new states and warriors in ancient China. 7 dominant powers, Qin, Chu, Qi, Han, Wei, Zhao, and Yan, battled for supremacy. Survival depended solely on military might. Peace was an illusion, a fading memory lost to constant mobilization and conquest. Welcome back to the History Atlas. From this maelstrom, the state of Qin emerged. Positioned on the rugged western periphery, it was often disdained as semi-barbaric by the more culturally refined central states. Yet, Qin's perceived outsider status and its pragmatic embrace of legalism, championed by thinkers like Shang Yang and Han Fei, transformed it into a formidable military power. Legalism prioritized strong, centralized authority, strict laws, abundant agricultural production, and above all, military strength. Advancement came through merit, not birth, creating a ruthless system where talent for command was rewarded without reservation. Bai Qi was a direct product of this unforgiving system. His origins are largely unknown, suggesting he was not of noble stock but rose through sheer, devastating competence. We know nothing of his lineage or early life, a silence that speaks volumes about Qin's meritocracy. For a young man in Qin, ambition meant excelling in the art of war, the only path to glory and guaranteed existence for both state and self. Bai Qi's ascension was swift and brutal. By 293 BC, he had risen to the paramount position of commander-in-chief, a rare feat for a man not born into the aristocracy. This rapid climb underscored Qin's unforgiving nature, where martial ability was the ultimate currency. Bai Qi was the epitome of Qin's calculated savagery. Bai Qi's inaugural campaign as commander proved devastatingly conclusive, the Battle of Yik. The allied forces of Han and Wei, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, sought to block Qin's westward expansion. This was a conventional challenge, but Bai Qi met it with ruthless ingenuity. Instead of a direct frontal assault, he employed cunning deception. He feigned retreat, luring the overconfident Han and Wei forces deeper into unfavorable terrain. Then, with precise maneuvers, he outflanked them, severing their supply lines and blocking retreat routes. Starved and encircled, the enemy quickly fell into disarray. What followed was not merely a defeat, but a complete annihilation, reportedly costing 2,4,0,000 Allied soldiers their lives. While the exact figure is debated, the sheer scale of the destruction was undeniable and unprecedented, sending shockwaves across the warring states. Yik was more than a battle. It was a psychological weapon. It crippled 2 major rivals in a single stroke and established Bai Qi as a general whose victories meant total devastation. This was not warfare of chivalrous duels or city sieges. It was a war of extermination, aimed at eradicating the enemy's capacity to fight. His subsequent involvement in the Grand Coalition against the powerful state of Qi in 284 BC, though less detailed, further highlighted Qin's strategic ambition and Bai Qi's integral role. His methods, terrifying in their brutality, were undeniably effective. They perfectly aligned with Qin's goals of territorial expansion and the systematic weakening of all who stood in its path. Within Qin, this ruthless efficiency was respected, even revered. Among its enemies, however, Bai Qi's name became synonymous with death, solidifying his early reputation as a human butcher. Having crippled Han and Wei, Bai Qi next turned Qin's ambitions southward, towards the vast realm of Chu. Chu was a major rival, a kingdom sprawling across the Yangtze River basin, immensely powerful and rich in resources. For centuries, Chu had been a counterweight to Qin, its size and military potential a formidable barrier to expansion. Bai Qi, however, saw not an obstacle, but an enemy to be systematically dismantled. Beginning around 279 BC, Bai Qi launched a campaign to not just defeat Chu, but to shatter its morale. His initial moves were calculated and devastating. He seized vital Chu territories like Yan and Deng, choking off supply lines and isolating the capital. These were preludes to a truly destructive act. In 278 BC, Bai Qi orchestrated one of the most brutal acts of environmental warfare in ancient history. Rather than besieging Ying, Chu's ancient capital, Bai Qi marched his forces upstream. There, he ordered the destruction of dikes controlling the flow of the Qi River. The consequences were catastrophic. The river surged downstream, inundating Ying. Homes, temples, and markets, the very foundations of Chu civilization, were swallowed by the torrent. Countless lives were lost, not by sword or spear, but by the manipulated river. The capital was utterly destroyed, its people scattered, its treasures submerged. The psychological blow was immense. Chu's identity was effectively erased. The Chu court fled, establishing temporary capitals in a desperate scramble that signaled their complete disarray. Bai Qi pressed his advantage with unwavering resolve, seizing vast swathes of Chu territory, including Qianzhong and Wuzhen. He carved out entire new commanderies for Qin, effectively absorbing the southern state piece by piece. The human cost was staggering, not just in direct combat, but in the displacement, starvation, and despair of a populace watching their world crumble. This was total war, a blueprint for absolute conquest where the opponent's societal fabric was torn apart. Bai Qi's campaign against Chu fundamentally reshaped the balance of power, crippling a great rival and creating a void only Qin could fill, dramatically clearing the path for the future unification of China, regardless of the human price. The grinding struggle between Qin and Zhao converged on the coveted Shandong province, a conflict that spanned from 262 to 260 BC. For 2 years, Qin's initial advance, led by General Wang He, was stalled by Zhao's formidable general Lian Po. This costly stalemate drained both treasuries and patience within the ambitious Qin court. But Qin possessed a ruthlessly effective intelligence apparatus. Minister Fan Zhu, observing the deadlock, orchestrated a whisper campaign within Zhao. He subtly spread rumors that Lian Po was a coward, unwilling to engage, and that only a more aggressive commander could break Qin. The young King Shaocheng of Zhao, swayed by court intrigue and his own impatience, fell victim to this deception. He replaced his veteran general with the untested Zhao Kuo, known more for theoretical brilliance than practical experience. This was the trap. At the same moment, King Zhaoxiang of Qin executed his own change in profound secrecy. Wang He was replaced, not by another conventional commander, but by the devastating General Bai Qi. The change was so clandestine that even Qin soldiers were initially unaware. Its impact, however, was immediate and profound. Bai Qi, now in command, immediately implemented his lethal strategies. He began with feigned defeats and carefully orchestrated retreats. These were designed to draw Zhao Kuo's eager but naive forces deeper into Qin territory, away from their supply lines and entrenched positions. Once Zhao Kuo had advanced, Bai Qi's elite units swept around the flanks, cutting off the main Zhao army's supply routes and escape paths. The Zhao army, hundreds of thousands strong, found itself isolated and divided into vulnerable pockets. What followed was not a swift, decisive battle, but a grueling, horrific 46-day siege. Deprived of food and water, surrounded, the Zhao soldiers succumbed to starvation and disease. When all hope was lost, their numbers decimated, and their will broken, Zhao Kuo led a desperate breakout attempt. He was killed by Qin archers. The remaining, utterly defeated Zhao army, estimated at over 4,000,000 men, surrendered. What happened next etched Bai Qi's name into history. Faced with hundreds of thousands of disarmed, starving enemy soldiers, Bai Qi made a chilling decision. Releasing them, he reasoned, would invite future rebellion and create an immense logistical nightmare. He could not feed them, nor could he realistically transport and guard them. In a cold calculation of strategic necessity, he ordered the massacre of every surrendered soldier. Only 240 young men were spared, sent back to Zhao to carry the horrifying tale of Changping. The scale of this atrocity, the burying alive of between 2,000,000 and 4,500,000 men, was unprecedented in its ruthlessness. This decision went beyond mere military victory and revealed the darkest depths of human brutality. It stripped Zhao of an entire generation of its fighting men, shattering its power irrevocably and cementing Qin's military supremacy. It was at Changping that Bai Qi truly earned his chilling moniker, the human butcher. We are forced to confront the terrifying balance between strategic imperative and the unconscionable cost of human life in the crucible of empire building. The dust of Changping had barely settled, yet Qin's ambition showed no pause. King Zhaoshang, emboldened by the scale of Bai Qi's victory, pressed for an immediate assault on Handan, the capital of the now crippled Zhao state. But the Grand General, whose military genius was unassailable, displayed unexpected intransigence in the war council. Bai Qi argued vehemently against the move. His army, he contended, was utterly exhausted, its resources depleted by the protracted siege and the grim work of annihilation. Zhao, though grievously wounded, would fight with fierce desperation within its capital. He believed a strategic pause was not merely advisable, but essential. This defiance clashed not only with the king's zeal but also with insidious court politics. Prime Minister Fan Zhu, a man of keen intellect, perhaps fueled by jealousy of Bai Qi's unparalleled triumphs, saw an opportunity. He subtly urged the king forward, whispering doubts about Bai Qi's loyalty and perhaps fearing the general's immense power and prestige. When the king, undeterred, ordered Bai Qi to lead the new campaign, the general steadfastly refused. He cited illness and reiterated his tactical assessment that the time was not right. Was this unwavering strategic insight, stubborn pride in his own judgment, or an inflexible conviction that only he understood the true cost of such campaigns? In an autocratic system, such an unyielding stance, no matter how rationally founded, was a dangerous gamble. The king's anger turned to cold fury. Stripped of his titles, Bai Qi was exiled from Xianyang, the capital he had so tirelessly defended and expanded. But Qin armies, now led by other generals, fared disastrously at Handan, suffering humiliating losses. This grim reality amplified King Zhaoshang's growing paranoia. A general of Bai Qi's caliber, uncommanded and disaffected, was a potent symbol, a potential rallying point for disloyalty, or a weapon for rival states. He was too dangerous to live. In 257 BC, the ultimate order arrived. Bai Qi was to commit suicide. As he drew his last breath, the human butcher is said to have reflected on his actions at Changping. "What sin have I committed to deserve this fate?" he mused. "I killed Zhao's surrendered hundreds of thousands. Perhaps this is the punishment." His death revealed the precarious nature of even the most indispensable power in a ruthless court, where the architect of triumph could himself become a casualty of relentless ambition and suspicion. Bai Qi's influence across the Warring States period was not merely one of victory, but of annihilation. He was, undeniably, a key figure in Qin's eventual unification. systematically dismantling rival states like Han, Wei, Chu, and Zhao, clearing the path for the future empire. Yet, this unparalleled military genius came at a horrific cost, a human toll staggering even by the standards of a brutal era, an estimated 1 million lives extinguished across his campaigns, a number that carries chilling power through history. Bai Qi's name endures in Chinese annals, revered as one of the 4 great generals of the warring states. His strategic brilliance is a subject of awe. But this admiration is inextricably linked with revulsion, forever marked by the epithet, human butcher. Here lies the profound paradox of his legacy, a figure essential for the birth of a unified nation, yet one who embodied its most savage and ruthless aspects. This compels us to grapple with uncomfortable questions. Can the ends, even one as monumental as the unification of a fractured land, ever truly justify such devastating means? How do we reconcile the undeniable strategic brilliance of a general with the widespread devastation he commanded? Bai Qi's life forces us to confront the brutal truth that empire building often arises from unimaginable human suffering. His indelible mark on history serves as a stark reminder of the terrifying power wielded by individuals and the enduring moral compromises inherent in the pursuit of absolute dominion. If you found this journey through ancient history compelling, remember to subscribe to our channel for more untold tales from the past.